You can't spend almost 5 years in a political foxhole without developing a strong relationship. And, you know, January 6th was a tragic day in the history of our Capitol building. And the president and I sat down a few days later and talked through all of it. I can tell you that we parted amicably at the end of the administration.
That is the latest take from Mike Pence on the January 6th insurrection and his relationship with Donald Trump. A take somewhat at odds with what John Carl's reporting in his new book, Betrayal. Here's an exclusive first look at new details of the pressure campaign against Pence and the former president's take on what his vice president was facing that day.
2 days before that fateful moment on January 6th, when Mike Pence defied President Trump for the one and only time as vice president, Pence sounded for a moment like he might just join Trump's efforts to overturn the election.
I share the concerns of millions of Americans about voting irregularities. And I promise you, come this Wednesday, we'll have our day in Congress.
That was at a campaign rally in Georgia on January 4th, and the crowd loved it. For several days, Pence had been facing even more pressure than previously known to use his role as the presiding officer on January 6th to single-handedly overturn the election. As reported for the first time in Betrayal, the final act of the Trump show, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows played a pivotal role in the pressure campaign on Pence, sending his top aide an email on New Year's Eve outlining the scheme. Written by Trump campaign lawyer Jenna Ellis, the memo called for Pence to send back electoral votes to 6 states won by Joe Biden, leaving neither Biden nor Trump with a majority and putting the outcome in the hands of the Republican-controlled House. The next day, Trump's fiercely loyal 30-year-old aide Johnny McEntee sent another memo to Pence's chief of staff titled, "Jefferson used his position as VP to win." It was historically wrong, but McEntee's message was clear. Jefferson did it, and Pence must do the same. During a series of meetings over the coming days, Trump tried to turn the screws on Pence. On the evening of January 4th, he went public with his demand.
I hope Mike Pence comes through for us. He's a great guy. Of course, if he doesn't come through, I won't like him quite as much.
It had been reported back in January by the New York Times that Trump even pressured Pence on the morning of January 6th with a crude phone call. When I interviewed Trump for Betrayal, I asked him about that.
There was a report, excuse my language, not mine, it was in the report, that you talked to him that morning and you said you could be a patriot or you can be a Did you really say that, or is that incorrect?
I wouldn't dispute it.
Really?
I wouldn't dispute it.
And when he stepped on the stage at his rally just before his supporters stormed the Capitol, Trump directed his and their anger toward Pence.
If Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election. If he doesn't, that will be a sad day for our country.
Pence did the right thing. He defied Trump when it mattered most, igniting the fury of the rioters. One of the many unbelievable things about that day is that as the Capitol was evacuated and rioters called for Pence's death, Trump never bothered to check on his safety. I asked the former president about that. Rather than condemning the chance to hang his vice president, Trump seemed to justify them.
Were you worried about him during that siege? Were you worried about his safety?
No, I thought he was well protected, and I had heard that he was in good shape. No,
you heard those chants. That was terrible. I mean, it was,
he could have. Well, the people were very angry.
We're saying hang Mike
Because
Pence.
it's common sense. How can you, if you know a vote is fraudulent, right?
Yeah.
How can you pass on a fraudulent vote to Congress?
He went on to talk at length about how it was, quote, common sense that Pence should have acted to overturn the election.
If Pence did what you wanted, you think you would still be in the White House?
I think we would have won, yeah.
Can you ever forgive him for that?
I don't know, because I picked him. I like him. I still like him. But I don't know that I can forgive him.
Angry and bitter in defeat, this is what Trump said when I asked him about his list of potential running mates if he were to run again.
I mean, I assume Pence is no longer on that list.
Well, I didn't say that, but
I mean, I can assume that, can't I?
But he did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
He's a very nice man. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I like his family so much, but he did. It was a tragic mistake.
There's no response to any of this from Mike Pence yet, but George,
The real question is the one that you asked just now of Senator Barrasso, to Republican leaders and to Republican rank and file voters, as Donald Trump is very clearly suggesting that he is planning to run, or at least strongly considering running for president again. Can those Republicans support somebody who defended rioters calling for the execution of his former vice president? That's the question for every Republican leader now.
Well, you saw Senator Barrasso certainly didn't want to criticize it. Meantime, you report on that Ellis memo to Mark Meadows. That's presumably one of the documents that is caught up in this executive privilege fight right now that is going to the courts that Donald Trump wants to shield. And Mark Meadows now could be facing the same fate as Steve Bannon, being held in contempt of Congress.
The committee sure suggested that they are going to consider holding him in contempt. I'm sure Meadows is watching very closely what happens to Bannon. But this is a very important document, George. On New Year's Eve, it is from from Meadows himself, forwarded to Mike Pence's chief of staff, and it outlines in very clear detail what should be done on January 6th to effectively overturn the election, to effectively have a coup. This is Mark Meadows forwarding a memo not from an outside lawyer, but from a lawyer for the campaign, Jenna Ellis.
John Carl, thanks very much. Betrayal's out this week. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.